Well, hello, 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 everybody. This is Reverend Karen welcoming you to Fearlessly Feral Living. I am broadcasting as usual from the Woogie Ranch in the back 40 of northwestern Nevada, where I'm a good half an hour away from the nearest gas station and the nearest grocery store. And wide open space is both a lifestyle and a spiritual teacher. This podcast explores real, practical ways to apply New Thought spiritual principles and practices so that you can create a deeply successful, meaningful life and live creatively, courageously, and successfully. Fearlessly Feral Living is a focus ministry of Centers for Spiritual Living, devoted to cultivating a world where every person lives wild, awake, free, and unapologetically alive. So I gave a talk this morning. I gave this talk um, to the to CSL Greater Pittsburgh. It's a teaching chapter in Pittsburgh, of course. So when I say this morning, I mean this morning at dark 30. It was 7:30 my time because I'm Pacific time in there, Eastern time. And I spent quite a bit of time working on this talk because it took a while for me to download what really needed to be said in this talk. And when it finally downloaded, I realized that not only was I going to deliver this talk this morning to CSL Pittsburgh, but I was going to put it in a podcast because I'm being nudged. Those little intuitive nudges we get. I don't know why I'm being nudged. I just know I am. I'm being nudged to share it with you. So here we go. The title of this talk is called Being a Possibilitarian. And this talk is the title and the topic comes from our own global vision themes, our global themes through CSL. And I want to commend the person who created the talk topic and the title and the word possibilitarian. It's such a fun word. A little bit of a tongue twister. Don't try to say it fast, but we're going to go and hopefully I won't twist it up when I'm going through here. So I'll be real honest with you. Limitation frustrates me. Now, if you've listened to me before, you know limitation frustrates me. I don't like it in my life, and I don't like it in anyone else's. And so, yeah, when I saw the title of today's talk, Being a Possibilitarian, I knew this was something I could sink my teeth into. Because when we open up to possibilities, we eliminate limitation from our lives. And when we eliminate limitation from our lives, life is perfect. So later on, at the end of this podcast, I'm going to give you a definition of perfection and see if all of this stuff doesn't tie up together in a nice, neat little ball that's really pretty and shiny and sparkly and full of light. So today, I want to talk about becoming a possibilitarian through the principle and the practice of oneness and the practice of what if. Notice I said oneness is both principle and practice. And that's your first hint. We're going to talk about oneness a lot. Notice I said, what if, I'm sorry, did I just say what if is a principle and a practice? Okay. What if is just a principle? What if is listed in my new book, How to Live Fearlessly Feral, as a spiritual practice. Oneness is both principle and practice. I want to make that pretty clear because there's so much more to oneness than the standard brand definition we always use, which of course is there's one God, one God. That's the definition of oneness. Well, there's more. There's so much more. Oneness, when we live in it as principle, does really cool things like eliminate loneliness from our lives. And it opens us up to possibilities. Oneness, when used as a spiritual practice, empowers us. So, how does this work? Why can't I say these things? Oneness is about more than acknowledging that there is just one, that there is one God. That's not all it is. That's part of it for sure. But in acknowledging that there is one God, we also acknowledge that God is everywhere present. There's no place where God is not. Thus, God is a part of us and we are a part of it. Now, think about that for a minute. If God is a part of me and God is a part of you, then it is also a part of everyone else. Yes, even those people, which makes us all connected, which means there's no separation between me and you. When we have this realization that we are connected with God and one with it, how on earth could we ever be lonely? I will tell you that if I ever find myself feeling lonely, which I haven't in a very long time, my solution would not be to go out and find a friend. My solution would be to reestablish my connection with God. Oneness and our connectedness means that what I think and feel affects you and vice versa. This is another aspect of oneness that I don't hear a lot of people talk about. I don't hear people speak to this. But if God is in me and God is in you, then we are connected on very, very deep levels, quantum levels, if you will. And yes, quantum physics has proven to us what I think and feel affects you, and what you think and feel affects me. This is where the consciousness of the human race comes in. We are one giant ball of consciousness. Think about that when you think about what is happening in this country right now. And think about the fact that because of oneness, we have a personal responsibility to watch our thoughts and change them if they are limiting. You know, those thoughts that are negative and hateful and you, and them, those things are limiting, very, very limiting. We need to change those kinds of thinking and move into solution rather than problem. That's how oneness principle works in our life. I also believe that, and this I get this from studying Ernest Holmes extensively, that oneness, as I mentioned earlier, is a spiritual practice. Every day is a day in which I consciously reaffirm my oneness, reminding myself that I am one with that force we sometimes call God, and it is one with me. On days when I'm feeling particularly separate, in other words, not feeling the oneness, I turn to Ernest Holmes for help with my reminders. Because let's face it, without oneness as a beginning, everything else just kind of falls short. Plus, there's a tiny little fact that every time we do a treatment or affirmative prayer, the first thing we do is acknowledge the oneness of God, and then we acknowledge our connection with it. This oneness thing is scattered throughout our teachings. But there's even more. I'm going to say it now, but wait, there's more. There's even more. Take oneness even further and consider that our power and our empowerment comes from oneness. Because if God is everywhere present and manifested in all forms, then it is also manifested as us. And if it is manifested as us, then we would not, by extension, have all. Then, I'm sorry, if God is manifested as us, then would we not, by extension, have all the power that God has? That's oneness, guys. We've got the power that God has because God is us and we are it. We're all one. So I'm not just spouting off here. I get this from Ernest Holmes. And for this talk, I did a lot of deep diving into a book called Love and Law. And Love and Law is this really cool little book that's basically a transcription of a lot of the talks that he gave. And in this book, he says we need to consider ourselves as the infinite creative power. Quote, tonight, I want you to consider yourselves as the infinite or creative power. There's nothing ambiguous about that, guys. If that isn't oneness, I don't know what is. And yet we balk about that. Tell someone I'm the infinite and creative power, and they're like, no, go away. I don't want to hear it. I don't believe that. That's sacrilegious. Well, I'm sorry. I believe it when Ernest Holmes says We are the infinite and creative power. And I often wonder why we limit ourselves by discounting suggestions like that. Why? Why would we limit ourselves that way? And I get it up to a certain point. It's really scary to take responsibility for ourselves by declaring we are one with God, that we are the limited and unlimited and creative and infinite power. I remember the first time I got that concept, the first time I felt it deep down within me. It was like a punch to the gut, only it didn't hurt. It was like it took my breath away. And I had to sit there and breathe consciously for a little bit to get my breath back. It was that big. And the ramifications of feeling that and realizing it and getting that were that big. And it was life-changing for me. And it's not the first time I've had life-changing spiritual awakenings like that. That's just one of many. But that particular one changed me. It changed me from being what I called a professional victim to an empowered human being. I became no longer willing to allow myself to be victimized by anyone or anything else. All of a sudden, I was able to set boundaries and keep them. All of a sudden, I was able to tell people, you can't treat me like that anymore. And all of a sudden, I was able to begin to take responsibility for myself so that there was no need to set boundaries because I was a boundary. It's weird when I say that. It's weird. There was no need to stand my ground because I showed up as an empowered human being. My whole energy was different. My everything, my consciousness was different. It was all different. And it all of a sudden it was like I took responsibility for my life. I took responsibility for my decisions and my actions. And when we take responsibility, we are empowered. From that point onward, I began thinking of myself as, in Ernest Holmes' words, a unique and individualized manifestation of God. I began to know and feel that I was here on earth so that God could experience the physical. Talk about being a possibilitarian. Oh my God, really? Okay. Living in oneness like this, having oneness be both the principle upon which I based my life, as well as a practice that I indulge in daily. There are no limits in my life. Well, there are sometimes. There are when I forget. There are when I forget to practice, to remind myself of my own oneness on a daily basis. They are when I forget to live in oneness. It's why I keep reading books. It's why I keep studying. It's why I keep showing up. It's because we forget. Oh, excuse me. So when we remember, and we have so many tools to allow us to remember, we can be possibilitarians all the time. And I want this for you. And Ernest Holmes wants it too. He wants it for you. I can speak for Ernest Holmes. He said in Love and Law, I want to endeavor to show you how you can become less limited. And then he says, and he said this in other places too, if you do not believe it works, it will not work because everything is belief. What he's saying is that if we are experiencing limitation in our life, it's because we believe in it. If we are not living as possibilitarians, we need to look at our beliefs. We need to take a good hard look at them and see what beliefs are limiting us. And the thing about beliefs is they got put in place either by ourselves or by others. And they served us really well for a really long time. But when we change, when we have psychic changes, like we become empowered because we realize we're one with God, for example, when we have those aha moments, those old beliefs, they don't work so well anymore. So we get to look at those and change those. Well, that's a lot easier said than done. Right here in my work with people, I come up against a major source of limitation. In spite of the fact that a fundamental element of our teaching is that we change our beliefs to change our lives, many of us do not believe or do not want to change our beliefs. I had a practitioner tell me once she was unwilling to change her belief. And when we discussed it further, she used an excuse that said she didn't know how to change it. And to me, that was just like an excuse. She knew how to change it. She's a practitioner, for crying out loud. We know this stuff. She didn't want to change the belief because she was more afraid of who and what she would become when she changed the belief than not. So, oneness. God is all, everywhere present. We are part of God. God is a part of us. Through this, we are empowered. Through this, through oneness, we are unique and individualized manifestation of spirit. Through oneness, what I believe and think and feel and do and say affects you and vice versa. Through oneness, we get to take responsibility for our lives because we are that. Now, let's introduce what if into this scenario. I call this the plain what if game. I have a lot of fun with what if. And it's why I included what if as a spiritual practice in my latest book. By the way, you can buy my latest book, get it in digital version from Amazon.com or from BookBaby if you're boycotting Amazon, bookbaby.com. Print version, contact me. I'm having distribution issues. Well, I'm not having them. The book is having them. The publisher is having them. I've got books for sale. Not only that, but if you're going to the Spiritual Living Convention in Reno on April the 7th, which is a little over a week away, I'll be selling my books there. I've got a table there and I'm selling my book. So come see me, get the book. Gotta get the book. So, what if? Let's just play what if and pretend that we're open to changing our beliefs. What if we were willing to explore ourselves enough to discover any limiting beliefs we might have? And what if we were then willing to enter that beautiful creative process, that thing right there, that teaching symbol, that arc of creativity from thought to manifestation? What if we were willing to enter that beautiful creative process by changing our beliefs? What if we were willing to enter that by creating a new belief in its place? What if you believed that you were a unique and individualized manifestation of spirit, put here on earth so that God could experience the physical through you? I mean, look around you. If God is everywhere present, it is truly everywhere present. It's in me, it's in you. I'm looking outside my windows. I've got clouds and mountains and a breeze and little quail running across the yard. Nope, there goes a bunny. It's in all of that. So God experiences the physical through all of its creations. Why do you think we're here? That's because God needs to experience the physical. It's how God works. So these kinds of what if questions are just about the deepest questions we can ask ourselves. When we ask what if, we can then move into contemplation about what if indeed. Here's some other what if questions. What if I were enough? Ask yourself that one. What if I had healthy self-esteem? What if this world was really a world that worked for everyone? I know lots of people in this movement who scoff at that statement. It's not possible. Well, I believe it is possible. What if my life were perfect? There's that word again, perfect. Do you think such things are possible or not? We can sit in the quiet and daydream about what these things would really look like. We can visualize them. We can feel what it would feel like if they were really true. This is called setting a mental equivalent. In Love and Law, Holmes says there must be something inside of us which equals the thing that we want to do. In the very next sentence, he says, water will reach its own weight. We're 90% water, guys. We attract our own weight. So if you're attracting stuff into your life that isn't too much to your liking, look at yourself. Change that and you will attract something different. This is what mental equivalence is all about. When we change what we're thinking and feeling, and we get a new mental equivalent. Now, here's a big mouthful that Ernest Holmes has when he's telling us how to get a mental equivalent. Deep breath. By practice, meditation, thought, study, intelligence, concentration, inspiration, hope, faith, love, prayer, desire, and work, there is no other way. That's what he says. I'll say it again. Ernest Holmes says we get a mental equivalent by practice, meditation, thought, study, intelligence, concentration, inspiration, hope, faith, love, prayer, desire, and work. There is no other way. So do all of that to get a mental equivalent. Or you could go to the Science of Mind textbook, in which there is a chapter called Mental Equivalence. It's 15 pages long. Read that chapter. And then contact me and tell me how you plan to create mental equivalence in your life. I really, really mean that. He takes us on a nice little journey through faith and the law of attraction and treatment in that chapter. So obviously, when we do the spiritual practice of asking ourselves, what if? There's a lot more to it than just asking ourselves, what if? Asking ourselves, what if, activates the creative process. A process which begins with oneness and moves through contemplation, in which we formulate that mental equivalent and we activate the law of attraction and we move into faith and treatment and we pray, changing our own minds in the process. Because remember, Ernest Holmes says prayer changes the mind of the one doing the praying. And then we move into the work, the moving of our feet. We treat and move our feet. We take action. And through it all, we realize our oneness with the one, which is where we get the power to be and do everything necessary to replace anything in our lives, any limitation in our lives, with complete success. This is where we become possibilitarians. So I want to wrap up this little talk today, this podcast, with what I promised you in the beginning, with a definition of perfection. I just heard about this a few weeks ago, and I've been thinking about it ever since. It goes pretty deep. Are you surprised? It goes deep. Consider that perfection means inclusive of everything. In terms of oneness, God is everywhere present and in everything. We are a part of God, and it is a part of us. Oneness is both cause and result of our personal inclusivity. So if we practice oneness, if we embody it, if we be it, if we make oneness real in our lives on all levels, then our lives are perfect because everything is included in that. Oh my goodness. So there you have it. There's my take on oneness, be it a possibilitarian. And it's not the only place I talk about oneness, by the way. I talk about oneness a lot. I talk about it in my book as in both the spiritual practice section and the spiritual principle section. It's a big deal, oneness. So I hope I will see you at the convention. If not, I hope we get to communicate via email or send me, a comment on one of my posts or a comment to this podcast. and reach out to me. I'd love to talk with you about this stuff. So until next time, remember, you don't have to live without fear to lead a powerful life. You simply have to stop letting fear be the one holding the reins. And if Fearlessly Feral speaks to your wild and authentic spirit, you can support this ministry through a donation, through membership, or by subscribing to my Substack. Supporting what feeds your soul helps it grow stronger in your life and keeps this message moving forward. So stay wild, stay awake, stay free, and keep living fearlessly feral. Thank you so much.